This
First one,
conference will now be recorded.
okay, call the meeting to order. Approve the agenda. And we don't have to approve switching that around. Do we, no? Okay, approve the agenda.
I'll motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I will second. Aye.
See, and that is the second one for the tree transplant, which you guys approved, but it should be Lawson tree transplant instead of Larson.
Oh,
Yeah.
This Knobsville for electric for a panel.
Out there before the festival, or added that 40 amp breaker out there before the festival. 50 amp, I'm sorry.
I've never seen a 40 amp before.
Not that we need the breakdown, but I'm assuming the majority of that 2,900 for the supplies from Gherkins is probably a lot of shelter stuff. Just making sure that we didn't run up too much of a bill with the disc golf
yeah.
blank check scenario that we had the month before. Which I never did reach out to Mr. Nolte and ask him for those shovels, because if we were buying shovels and different things from Ace and stuff, those should be back to the city.
I guess we can look at that. Yeah. The breakdown and see.
That was all for Gherkins.
I think they would have had some cement there if that was the start of it, cement and. Right, I think it was cement and stuff.
Gherkins one. But
Not even from Smith.
probably some quick reach or something.
No, just set the baskets. Wanted to double check that.
No, I was just making sure that we weren't continuing in that. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll move to approve accounts payable.
I'll second.
Motion and second to approve the accounts payable. All All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, we'll go into, you don't want to go to, not the skate park, though. Not the skate park, right? He's with disc golf. Okay, well, that's on the priority list, so we'll talk. Okay, we'll get an unfinished business. We'll talk about the priority list, but we'll go into a little for the disc golf. Mike, you want to?
So we got Tim Mackey, he's with, I don't remember, you got a specific organization too, correct? Tim?
Well, yeah, I don't know if you can see this. I'm going to hold up two cards first of all. One is my disc golf course designer's card for design, and then the PGGA, Professional Disc Golf Association. And then as this meeting goes on, I did also have my resume portfolio of designs I've done over the course of my career. So if that is something that we need to talk about, we can. But I'm also I'm the interim board president for the Minnesota Frisbee Association. Yeah, I'm here to talk to you about your course. I know there's some concerns. This whole thing started when I believe it was Michael had posted on Facebook the sale of your old Mach 5 baskets. And Billy Ashton from the social media director from the Minnesota Frisbee Association contacted me because I was helping another facility that was looking for used baskets. So I tried to connect the two guys, Tom Anderson from Alexandria, Minnesota, and Michael. And through that process, Tom could never really get in touch with Michael. I called Michael a couple times. And then finally he said, don't contact me anymore. So I thought that was a little weird. So then that's when I called Mike to just talk to him about what was going on in Zumbrota regarding the sale of these old baskets. That led into this conversation that we're kind of having tonight. I was in Rochester, my hometown, back in August or September, I think it was, and I had the time to stop to Covered Bridge Park, which is a wonderful looking park, to try to figure out what was going on with disc golf, and I was a little confused. So at that point, Mike and we had a conversation. I think Brian, we might have had a conversation too about some of the concerns that you had. And so I appreciate you asking me to join your meeting tonight. Thank you.
So it really wasn't much more than just having some conversation with him leading into some of the concerns we had out there. A lot of it was with location of everything where it was, and I think we got things, but maybe Tim can go into a little bit of the tee pads and where we're at with that, because I had some concerns with that, with a brand new course laid out. My thoughts were maybe we just don't put tee pads in and play the course for a while. And that sounds like that's kind of a realistic approach to things, but maybe you have a little more comment on that, Tim?
Well, first of all, I think some of the pin positions are questionable. A couple of them are really close to the road, which creates a safety issue. I noticed there was another area where it looked like you threw over some park benches. I could be wrong on that one. And I really didn't see a map or a real idea how the flow of the course went. So I wasn't able to really play it, other than seeing some baskets out there that I thought were kind of probably positioned in places they probably shouldn't be. And there were white flags on the ground, which I think were designating where tee pads were. So yeah, in my professional opinion, I think the one thing to do would be to hold off on cement tee pads until you're very confident in any repairs or upgrades or changes in the design for safety and flow. There was a comment made by you guys about maybe discs were spray shots, we call them, going into the road, not only in the park, but I think you mentioned a county road as well. And I didn't know where that county road was, if I drove in on it from 52 or not. But anyway, that was one of the concerns as far as the design was concerned. Now, I've never met this Michael guy. I'm sure he's a great guy, and having a local kind of mover and shaker in your town for disc golf is really good. And I'm sure his heart is in the right place, and the energy is there, and it's fairly organic, I guess. But you have to kind of look at what's best for the city, and if you want to make this course really I guess a destination course where you get people not only from the community but outside the community coming in, playing it, spending money, generating revenue they need pop or food after they're playing or whatever the case may be. So those are some of the things. So this isn't the first time that I've had to be part of a meeting like this to kind of help fix things or just be a sounding board, so to speak.
So are you going to help us collaborate and maybe redesign some of the course, some of the issues? Is that some of the concerns that we have here tonight?
From what I've gathered, yes, there are some safety concerns, and yeah, I would be part of that. I think Michael and some of your disc golf community people also need to be part of that because they're your stakeholders in this whole thing. I would be coming in and helping do any corrections that need to be done, work with your park maintenance people on any re-landscaping or issues like that, and what to do with future plans as far as tee pads, any of those types of things. So yeah, I would be more than happy to help you with that. And it's getting late in the year. I don't know if this is something that's urgent that needs to be done yet this year, or you want to wait till spring, or do you want to bring in the disc golf people and let them know what your concerns are and what your plans are to go ahead with fixing whatever you think is wrong with the course?
I just speak for myself. We'd be willing to accept the help whenever we can get it. So if you're willing to help out, I'd be happy to meet you anytime to go over
Sure.
like the existing layout and what the new map might look like, or maybe walk the course and see where we think some changes can be made and not interfere with other things in the surrounding park area.
Yeah, it sounds like you've got a number of amenities in that park, and yeah, you don't want to hinder those amenities and hinder anything else that's going on there, whether it's just a daytime picnic or special events going on in the park. I've been in some courses where it's a multi-use park like Covered Bridge, and you have to sometimes, if you have a major festival, you might have to shut the course down, but that's okay because it's only for a day or two, or do alternate layouts that doesn't interfere with that. So yeah, those are some of the things that you take into consideration because it's a multi-use park, which most of the designs that I've done are in most public parks, but a few of them I've done where there's no other activity or amenity other than the disc golf. But this one, I think, lends itself to that.
Probably a fee,
Oh,
having him come down, right? Right, so do you have different levels of, of assistance on cost and stuff for that, or is it just one?
Well, it would, yeah, it would depend on how much involvement, how many trips I would need to make, and how much involvement you want are we looking at just fixing a few holes in the flow, or are we looking at a complete redesign? So those are some of the things I think if we meet, we can kind of establish that ahead of time and figure that out. So you have some kind of, this isn't going to cost you a lot of money, but there's some, costs involved with me coming down and helping with that. The idea is, I don't know if you can see this, but this is pretty small, but what I have on this piece of paper are different styles of design. The categories are tournament, community, recreational, and championship. And from what I saw there, they also go in a code color: red, white, blue, and gold. And from what I saw, I would think that the level of skill needed for all levels of play is probably a white level, which is good. Blue is okay. You probably don't want to do anything above a blue level. And, whether or not you want to add down the road multiple pin positions with this course to change it up once in a while, or add at least 2 sets of tee pads. We don't call them men's and women's in disc golf. We just call them advanced or amateur tee pads, so that a family could come out and play the short tee pads and have a really good experience. Or more of the league players or players that play more often might want to say, "Oh, I'm going to play from the longs," whatever the case may be. So you have some options on the design there too, and it allows for a little bit more variety as well.
Back to the tee pads, Tim, would be the recommendation and say, what did you call them before, toe pads or toe?
Yeah, I don't know if you can see this. What I have here is a spec. It's a trapezoid style tee pad. Rectangle tee pads are okay too. It's about 5 feet in front, 12 feet long, and then 6 feet in the back as a trapezoid. You can adjust that. You don't want to go any smaller lengthwise than 10 feet. Players use almost the entire pad to do their X step or run up, and that would be the recommendation for a good sized tee pad. But like I said, before you invest in the money of cement and all that work, you got to get the design set the way you want it. You're happy with it. Maybe just putting in toe boards, which is a 4-foot 4x4 piece of wood, flush with the ground so the mowing crew can go over it, no problem. And that would be the line that would designate the front end of the tee pad using the natural turf as is.
Would you play it for a year before you, and have everybody get a feel for it for like a year? Or
Well, I don't know if you need a complete year, but that's not a bad idea to at least get a feel for it, get feedback, and just say, yeah, these are good spots for tee pads. This layout is good. I think you should move forward, with cement. And I think the key to that in my aspect would be, once you get the holes the correct way, whether it's the distance of the hole, the flight pattern of the hole, the spray shots, and the safety of the hole, then you can go ahead and start thinking about budgeting for cement. And the cement, when it's installed, whether it's done by the city or you subcontract it out to the local cement company or whoever, they have to understand that the surface of the tee pads needs to be a broomed surface so that it has a bit of a grip with a little bit of drainage off of it for rain, snow, so that players who are playing in any type of condition feel confident that they can plant their foot and release their drive, which is the most powerful of the throws that you use in disc golf, and not feel that they're going to slip or slide off of the pad because it was cured or dried at too much of a smooth surface. So broom brush finish is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I guess next steps would be to get contact information and estimates as to level of involvement or what we could expect from you.
Sure. It sounded like you still want to try to meet this fall. Is that?
Just to keep the momentum going, I mean, depending on what your schedule and your rate and everything is going on there, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of action as far as moving our holes, but just to continue on with some of our progress.
Right. Well, I'm looking at November, and my schedule is pretty open, and I'd like to come down if I could during the daytime, so we could meet, and then hopefully there'd be your maintenance supervisor would be there as well, or somebody from the public works staff, so everybody's in the same loop on things as we go through it. So on this first initial meeting, I'm sure it'll be about an hour or so, maybe less. I could schedule it where I come down and maybe I'll just go to Rochester and stay at my in-laws' place. Then I have to drive all the way back to St. Cloud, and then I can go back the next day, or we can meet the next morning if there's still some things you want to go over, marking possible areas, and then I can head back. So for that initial meeting, I think if we just look at, obviously mileage and per diem, and we could call it that. And then if there's some additional things that need to be done, we can include that in it as well, if that's helpful.
That's a good start.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so today, what is today? Today's the 14th. I have later this week, all of next week except Monday is I'm open. And of course, next week, it is Thanksgiving, so we don't have a lot there other than Tuesday or Wednesday. And I'm sure you guys want to work on your Thanksgiving plans. The following week, the 28th of November is open. That gets us to the first start of December. And then all of my December is pretty well open during the day to come down. Obviously, when we get closer to Christmas, it might be a little too late. But if you want to check your calendar and throw out some dates, let's say, I don't know, the November 22nd, 23rd, or the week of the 28th of November, and just throw some dates out and let me know what would be workable for you. Maybe meet late morning, something like that, pending weather.
Is that something you, me, Mike could just email and coordinate, the three of us, and look at our schedules and take that up like tomorrow or something and review our schedules and do that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then if Mary wants to be included as well, she was part of what we had established as a subcommittee for the disc golf. We could include her as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. That sounds good. Why? I have some meetings that are going to last till about 11 tomorrow. Then I'm free, so I could call you when I get back home tomorrow. Is that what you think?
Sure, that would work. And then once we have the email and the date and the things established, we can email you a better outline of what our current course layout is, so you can take a look at that.
That would be helpful. Yeah, have that in place before any travel takes place. That would be helpful. Would that map also, would it be a Google Earth map type of thing that would show not only the course, but the roads going in and the other amenities, the campground area, whatever else you got there?
Yes.
Okay, super. I'm sorry, can I ask this might be a stupid question. Which one of you is Brian and which one of you is Mike? Because I've never seen you guys in person. You're Mike?
I'm Brian.
And you're Brian. And you are
Troy.
Okay. All right. So I have Mike and Brian's email, but I don't have your email. So
Okay.
if you just get it from
I can give it to you now. It's really easy. Troy Ness, Ness, like Loch Ness or happiness, @hotmail.com.
The first time you've done that.
Like you said, like Loch Ness Monster? Troy Ness?
Loch Ness or happiness, no relation to either.
Okay. At Hotmail. Okay.
Hotmail.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
All right. Well, I might send you an email here after the meeting here just to make sure I got it right.
Perfect.
Okay.
So do you still have people interested in them old baskets of ours?
I'm sorry?
Do you still have people interested in them old basket of ours?
I think so. I'm not sure now. The gentleman at Andy's Tower Ridge is a ski resort in Alexandria, Minnesota, and it looks like he might have been able to find a set. There used to be an old set in the city of Alexandria, and then it went to Douglas County, and I think Douglas County is working out a deal with him as well. So I can help you with seeing if there's other. I mean, are you willing to repost it? It's because it sounds like it was a little goofy the first time around. I don't know.
Well, we'll have to touch base with,
So we still would have to, they would still have to go on a public surplus.
Auction, yeah, right. So if you just post, if we can post it on the Minneapolis Twin Cities Disc Golf Facebook page, that it will be on an auction at a government auction. Yeah, that would be fine. Morrison County did the same thing. They put it on a government auction and then posted it at the Twin Cities and the St. Cloud Disc Golf Facebook page. And Tom was able to purchase them. The question sometimes what people have when they're looking at purchasing used baskets is not only the condition of them, but is the anchor sleeve with them too. That's the thing that goes in the ground. I don't know if your Mach 5 baskets were deluxe baskets or if they were called a no frills basket, which is just the pipe goes in the ground, cemented, then you come back out after everything's dried, and then add the basket and the chain assembly to the top. I'm not sure what system you had, so I don't
So there-
know.
There was a sleeve for them.
Okay, then you had Mach 5 Deluxe, which is the top of the line basket for that design. Okay,
That's the way I understand it too, because when we bought 18 new baskets, so they all match. We reused the original 9 sleeves, so we should have 9 brand new sleeves to go with the Mach 5s.
okay. Yeah, that's nice that you could refurbish and use it. We did that up here at a couple different courses too when they upgraded their baskets. It works well with DGA, but I'm not, what's the new basket you guys got? Dynamic? Is that what you purchased or Patriot or something?
Yep, the Patriot version, but I think it was through Dynamic Disc Golf. Yep.
Yep. Yeah, good company. Good company. I think you have good baskets. They're PGA sanctioned baskets. So yeah, you're good there. No problem.
so
Excellent.
we'll just leave it then with these guys getting hold of you and
Yeah.
coordinating something. You and, yep.
Yep. That sounds good. And then, yeah, like I said, I'll try your email, Troy, here tonight. And can you give me, Troy, can you give me your phone number real quick too? Is it 507
254
254
37.
3718? Okay. Thank you.
You bet.
All right. Okay. Anything else? Any other? I had one other thing I wanted to share with you, and I know you have a lot of other board business to get to, so I really appreciate you taking this much time with me. This is just a graph here, and as you can see, if you can see it, it shows the steady growth of the game of disc golf across the board in regard to the number of disc golf courses installed. So in 2004, there were 1,700 courses installed, and as of 2014, there were 5,000. So incrementally, what you're doing, what other cities are doing, they're seeing the benefits of disc golf for every level. You know, the grassroots recreational level, leagues, future tournaments, and the fact that it's an outdoor, way to have some health and recreation, especially when COVID hit, disc golf really exploded. I mean, it was one way to get back outside and play with an event or an activity that isn't too expensive. Because golf discs, you can get a set of them at Walmart for like $25, a driver and a putter and a mid-range. So I just wanted to share that what you're doing is the right thing, and having a course in your community is really good. The designs I've done on the 56 courses have been towns, smaller than yours and much larger, obviously metro size as well. So it doesn't matter the population size. It's the matter of putting in a course in a park that works.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, well, thank you for your time, Tim.
Yeah.
You guys will stay in touch.
Yeah, you bet. And then when we talk, Troy, I'll probably bring some additional resources with me. Okay, I'll let you go if that's it. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good evening.
You too.
Bye.
So just to finish up on that, the only concern I have is that we originally had agreed with Nolte that we were going to sell the baskets to him. And then part of the basket cost was going to be what he was charging us. So if we end up deciding to negate that deal and go a different direction, then we got to worry about where the cost was on some
I
of the other
don't
stuff.
think, I guess I don't think it's a matter of whether, I don't think we have a choice. We have to go through a public auction way, right, Brian?
Yeah. More research, it's public property. It's pretty expensive public property. So we should go through a public auction.
I can't sell it without going through an auction type.
So what we do is we'll sell through the auction, we'll just take that money, whatever, and use it to pay for that $1,000.
So we don't have a guarantee that could go for $50.
Well, you can put a reserve on it.
You can
Gotcha.
put-
That would be my only concern. We got a guaranteed $1,800 coming from him right now. So I would put the reserve at whatever he's guaranteeing us.
Right.
So if we don't meet the reserve, then can we sell it whatever way we want?
I believe so. No?
Put the reserve at 1,800 and then tell them about it and they'll give you 1,800 for it. Right?
Yes. Yeah, they can buy it too.
He could buy it through the auction. He would just have to be the high bidder at 1,800.
Right.
Yeah, we do that with stuff at the county all the time.
That would be a good way to, at least for any of us to go back to him and say, sorry, but we can't do this deal. We're gonna have to do it this way just to go through the loopholes, but we're giving you the inside information. The reserve is set right where we agreed upon the price, so you can watch the auction, and if it stays low enough, you can just go boom and bid at the last minute and get them. Yep,
Instead of beginning that he's.
right,
1,800 and-
exactly.
It's automatic.
As it goes automatically, then he's in.
Automatically, it's not good.
Correct. That works, because that was one of the things that we had agreed
So
on last
that's
meeting.
actually number 6 under new business. You guys will have to vote on that to put it to auction.
Any more discussion on with this gentleman? I guess the level he said was, yeah, I think we get a lot of people using it just like it is. So, I don't think we have to change, and not change, but I mean, go to championship or.
And I didn't bring him in here specifically for that reason. I just thought he had a lot of different kind of perspectives on things. I thought he had a lot of good information at the time. And Fred talked to him too at one point in time. Did you call him and talk to him? And the big thing for me was the tee boxes. I didn't want to get us involved in getting all these tee boxes set and then find out that that course, that isn't,
Well, right.
Right.
so.
Yeah, especially he sounds like he's got a lot of experience. I mean,
Yeah.
the brief conversation we've had with him, he sounds very reputable and very professional. Not to say that Mike has not been, but obviously Mike even said he's kind of new to the thing, and just the experiences we've had, there's a lot of question marks involved, so.
Yeah.
And Tim has said to me over and over, Mike said, I don't want to be stepping on Mike's toes or anything. He said, I'm just bringing you this information. When he drove through here, it just raised a red flag, so that's why he called him. And
Mike was a volunteer. I mean, not to say we get what we pay for, but I mean, literally, he's just someone coming in, volunteering his time, more than willing to help out. So I don't think we gotta do what's best for the community, right?
Yeah.
So if he can help us and avoid any like major red flags before we start putting cement in, I would welcome the thing, even if it's a couple $100 consultation one time to come in. That could save us a lot of headache and go in different directions.
Well, even just the safety concerns that he brought up too, like, got to make sure that it's safe for everybody in the park, not just the disc golfers and, we're gonna have kids running around there all the time and all that jazz. So
Correct.
I'd rather take the time to have him come down, make sure that everything is set and good to go. And then even with the tee pads, I'm all right with waiting a year if they put those whatever he called them, toe tappers,
We got nine.
whatever they're called.
We got 9 of those already, because that's that last basket that was out there. That's what they did with all the ones they dug up. They all stacked them around there. So we have 9 of those toe boards
Yeah.
right now. We have
Toe boards.
3
toe
foot wide
tappers.
concrete that we used on, so we're halfway there if we want to use those for 1 year.
Get tore up though.
Yeah, I mean, that's just
Go set it in there.
set
Yeah,
it
just-
right back down in. He's talking about using just a regular 4x4 and making it flush so you can do your thing since they're temporary. But the downside is you start getting the mud and the slippery the surface where you're teeing off and
Right.
stuff, and it's not safe. But I was really shocked when he said he says no shorter than 10 feet. He recommends a 12-foot run up. That's a heck of a long run.
That is a long, yeah. That's what I was thinking too, is like, that's a lot of
That's a
cement.
lot of concrete. I was thinking 4x8 and we were going to taper it like from 3 foot to 4 foot. He's going 5 foot, 6
6
foot.
foot, yeah.
That's a lot of concrete.
Well, and I'd hate to lay all that concrete and then have to,
And read.
redo it, yeah. That's
He
just gonna
definitely said
cost
you
more
put your
money.
T-pads where you want them, and then you make your baskets portable, where you could just grab another post and move it from point A. I mean, they even do that on a standard golf course, moving the hole all the time. I don't think we're that complex. I don't think we're gonna have that much room when we finally do meet with him. I think once he realizes all the amenities and the obstructions and the things, there's only so many places you can put 18 baskets in there and not impede with the campground or everything else going on there, so. Sounds like a great guy. Look forward to meeting him.
I think we needed to add to the agenda, the fee schedule. And we should have put that down under B of new business, at least to talk about it.
Okay, the rest of the stuff on the priority list. Got some prices on the. That's part of this, isn't it, the state? Oh, no, you got it on C. Okay. All right, and the bathrooms up there, we just about got them enclosed. The doors are here now, so we get a nice day. We'll hopefully, my goal yet before winter really sets in is to get it, the indentation enclosed, and the door is in. I'd still like to get the aluminum soffit in yet this year, is what when we can do that in 30-degree weather, so just when it's not dripping on us and sloppy. So that's our goal yet in the next month here, is to get that much done. And I talked to the electrician, so he wants the inside of it all finished, and he's just gonna do conduit on the outside of the,
Yeah,
which will
yeah.
be easier for the installers with the 10 and for him to.
Yep.
So, and if we get 30-degree weather, even if there's snow on the ground, we can work on the inside too. So it's gonna be ongoing hopefully this winter, and the electrician has also looked at getting service over there. So that's on the bathrooms. Disc golf we talked about.
What are the thoughts about having conduit? It's a lot easier to steal all the copper. I worked at the U of M and we had a coal bin for the power plant. And we came into work one day and all the copper grounding lines were gone. $5,000 worth of copper stolen. And it's because it's being used for drugs to buy meth.
That's about right.
Someone can come in, pull it off and just snip, and they've got.
You know, they say that the amount of plugins and lights that we're gonna have there are gonna be minimal. So we surely can cut around them and, yeah.
It's just a thought.
No, that's a good thought. But I'm sure it's gonna be a thought up there. Once we get it
You
in.
know, and it wouldn't be, if it does happen, it wouldn't be very expensive to replace it. I doubt it's gonna happen a lot, but it's just something to think about. And if it doesn't cost much more to do it behind everything and cut it in, then it might be better to bury it. Out of sight, out of mind.
Well, we might talk to Luke about that a little bit.
I don't think it'd be too bad cutting into that tin.
Well,
It's a little different than sheet rock, but the guy can get that done.
the nice thing about the tin we're using, it's pretty flat. The ribs are only 1/4 inch. Because we didn't want the bigger ribs so they could kick them all in. And we're gonna put OSB behind it, so they can't get between the studs. So yeah, I don't think that would probably be a big issue
Okay.
to probably. So should we, I know you put cameras in everywhere. Once we get this done, should we be putting cameras up there? I mean, that's kind of the going thing, isn't it, now to catch these?
It's hard to put cameras everywhere. But it's hard to put cameras everywhere, but we can have the discussion. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, especially with the park there too, that's really accessible by just, I mean, you can drive right to the shelter there, right through the park road and just right up on the thing. We already got electricity and everything else going right to the shelter and stuff. It wouldn't be a bad idea to have one up there.
Right. How do you get the camera signal back to here?
Be a, I get the terminology messed up. Is it a carriage point or a? It would be a reoccurring cost for the park board of, I believe, $35 a month because you basically,
Basically a
it's
cell
a
phone
Verizon
signal.
cell service. Yep.
Okay.
It would cost $35 a month to have it running up there. So what's that? 350?
Or a less expensive option is just a
410.
motion trail camera thing too up there if you have it secured up on the side of the shelter, you know, facing that building. You got electricity, so you don't need that. I mean, they do make solar powered ones too, but you could have that and then that's just all on a flash drive that just overwrites itself. So if nothing happens to it, just keeps on taking pictures anytime something walks by, or, you know, you could have a lot of pictures of dog walkers going through there. But if something did happen, the very next morning, you could grab that disc and take that.
I'm not technology at all, but I mean, a lot of people watch their whole house when they're gone on their phones or what.
We got a Wi-Fi signal, so you'd have to have a wireless.
That's
router.
Okay.
Mine's hooked up to my, I can check my door anytime anywhere in the world.
But
As long
you
as I
have
got a Wi-Fi.
there.
Yeah.
So that's where Brian was talking about the service, like literally Verizon for $30, you'd ping off a cell phone tower and you'd be able to have access to that.
Right.
That's what we do with the bridge and the brush site. We've got the remote.
$30 per camera.
No, it's for the, you can run a whole bunch of cameras off one point. So it's $35 per carriage. I don't think carriage point is the right word. It's the,
So we could add one to that then?
not from there. No, you'd have to have it at the camera. The camera hooks into it.
You could add a
You can add
service
more
onto the
cameras.
plan that he's got. Is that what you want to know? Chris?
Right. You said you could have.
Yeah, no, you would, at any site. So if we only have two cameras in the bridge, they both run off the one carriage point.
So that's $35 there.
Yep.
And then the brush site's another $35?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, but we could run up to, you can run up a lot of cameras off one, but not, it has to be all on that site. It can't be across town or across the park. So you couldn't put one on the shelter and run it off this one.
To me, $35 would be, or, well, we can see how it goes. So we can always add that, right?
Something we can look at for future business. Doesn't need to be decided tonight. Yep,
You
absolutely.
get an estimate on a camera, $1,200 or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think if it becomes an issue where we have people busting stuff and all that jazz, then maybe we can look into it. But if people kind of leave it alone.
This year you caught how many breaking in and have cameras too, so.
Well, the last one we had used the cameras.
That was
the trail.
Yep, the one
The
that
ones
went
on the
in.
park did not.
Yeah.
That was somebody, they were out there the time the cops happened to be driving through.
Well, just as a thought, once we get that all done out there.
Yeah,
Okay.
And lighting is a big deterrent too, and we had talked about that. Having some good lighting up there, even on the back door of that building.
Shines in the back and.
Mike awake at night.
Shines Mike Nord and stuff.
Keep him awake at night.
Bedrooms on the north side, you'll be fine.
Okay, that's good. That's good. We'll tell him you said that. That would be good. You signed it?
Yeah, absolutely.
sign an initial.
Okay, campsite. Campsites, working on the proposal out there, or the new prices. And we can go to the small, Mike's been kind of looking at the size of a bathroom we need and everything, a shower there. And it's pretty minimal what we need for, what we got right there now is pretty much what we need, right, Mike?
Right, so The Minnesota rule on that is toilet and shower facilities must be provided in all campground which harbor any RCB which is not equipped with toilet and bathing facilities in accordance with the schedule on that. So what I'm getting from, and that was from Heather Fluger from the Minnesota Department of Health, is tents and pop-up campers, basically. So we have to come up with a number of what we have for tent sites and possibly any pop-up campers, which we have there. Most of our campers out there are the big recreational vehicles that all, like I said, now they have nicer facilities inside their campers than what we can even provide for them. So really all we need is one toilet and one shower. And as long as we keep the, well, and I think that number was 30 some. If you had more than 30, then you had to go up to 2 toilets and 2 showers. So we can, from what we started with last year on the bathhouse, we had it for two toilet lavatories and 2 showers. So we can shrink that down quite a bit.
And female. So this would be one shower, 1 water closet, 1 lab for male and one
By
each
26
for male.
versus 20 by 30 or something we had before. And that'll help with the cost quite a bit actually out there.
So we'll give revised numbers to the grant writer.
On that campground, Mike and I were out there walking a little bit to see where, where the shower is right now. Right behind that is up, what do we think, Mike, about 4 feet?
Oh, even a little more than
Amongst the pine trees and stuff. We just thought that would be a nice spot to put that, and then it'd be closer to the walking path and stuff. And then as we were walking through there, with the people that were arguing with I don't have to say arguing, they were talking about green space and stuff. And this is kind of what they sent, I think. Did you send that in for the grant? Yeah. And I think it kind of, Galen Thompson went out there with us and walked through this, and he kind of stepped it off and kind of sketched this up. And when he sketched this up along the road here, we had 10 sites here. And I don't know, I guess I would like to, call it a proposal or what, but where the shower house is now, and that gets moved up there, I'd like to see that be like where the camp host would be. And if we were to put 10 sites here, that's what we're looking at, that would be 11 along here. And we could eliminate this road here for cost. And what they could do is come in and loop around and back in this way all along here. And there would be gravel sites, and then they would have a gravel spot in front to park their vehicle. And then we wouldn't have to disturb anything behind that up to the so it kind of, show that we're making progress in there. But anyway, that's the thought process to put in mind there. We don't have to go into theirs.
where we looked like it was going to grow some more, you can still always put that road in and then add more on the backside to the north.
Another thing we could do for, if we just want to put these seasonals in, we can always run, we could put more than 4 seasonals down here too. Because there's only 4 seasonals out of, I think there's 12 sites down there, I think, isn't there?
Yeah, I think so.
Those sites get, I understand you walked it with somebody, but the other plan was by a civil engineer, assuming that they looked at typical site layout for distances. I mean, to fit that many in there, you're going to be stacking them right on each other. So we'll have to look at that. We'll have to look at that stuff too.
Well, there's still, there's 50 feet, I think, and then so 10 feet in between them, was there? I can't remember. Yep. So there would have to be measured, and we could take a wheel. I told Fred that we should take a wheel out there and just measure that once, but I think that's a minimum they have to be. They have to be 10 feet in between them, and
Right, then you gotta ask yourself, do you wanna go the minimum as well? You know, does that make it less desirable if you're stacking them in there at the minimums? Anyway, just thoughts.
When Galen, he built a campground down below, and they built theirs less, and he suggested 50 would be very comfortable with the pad in the middle of it there and stuff. So just a thought, that we'll go wheel it off and stuff, but it would just, you know, we gotta get that price down. At 300, I just, when we first looked at doing this, we were at the $200,000, now also 370. So I'm looking at ways of having this happen, but getting that price down to where it's. Manageable. Okay, well, that's my input on that. And you got the sink and stuff for the,
Yep, and I think that's being worked on it now.
oh, you putting in, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh.
And then we had decided, didn't we, that you didn't want or didn't need cabinets up there? Yep.
We just went with countertop, we're gonna use the
Yep.
existing there. I think we had the lower, we're gonna move the electrical. We were gonna move the electrical. Well, that might be. And then we're gonna lower them so we could get a backsplash in there too.
Yeah, I was just. I see the project list still lists cabinets, so that would be something. Take that off there.
Shelter,
Just
take the cabinets
Sink in the
off of
shelter, yeah. So it'd be a countertop and to replace cabinets.
And sink, yeah.
Yep, countertop sink. Other than that, there's no updates on the dugouts. Still got the fence pricing. I don't know if we've got any update on the fencing thing, but obviously now with snow falling and things like that, I haven't got any drawings or anything, so we haven't got any quotes on what the overall roof structure would be. So that's all still pending or on hold.
So we talked about, I know at one time that we were gonna put something out too for, that we're looking for donations for the Little League fields out here.
Mhm.
Didn't we talk about that once about, maybe there was somebody in town that would really. We talked about that one time, I think, didn't we? About getting it out there that we're upgrading it.
Yep.
Is that something that we?
Same, yeah, I mean, I did that movie night and all that other stuff. I mean, we can put it back out there again if we want to put something in the paper or something, looking for big funds or big donations or a business to donate towards that.
Might be a bit.
That Twins Fund the next year, since they had spent their money up, just get in on it a little bit earlier.
Yep. As of right now, that program is currently dead, but they didn't know if they're going to start it back up again with the economy and whatever, so.
I would say there might be even a business that's got real interest in the Little League here and,
Right. I mean, that's
people
one,
aren't gonna know if we don't put it out there that there's a place to, especially at the end of the year here when tax season coming.
that's one of the things that, like, if we want to re-advertise that, I would propose we do it on the city website or the Facebook site or put it in the paper, have the city write it however they want to say, looking for big business donors, whatever. I've kicked that dead horse for too many years. There's nothing that I've found that anybody is ready to do. I've even offered to have, a donor put their name right on it and say, this is, Ace Hardware. And just, there wasn't anybody at the time that I found that wanted the advertisement. That was going to be our platinum level. It's like you would donate 10 grand and you can put your name all over the side of this thing on public property, and they still didn't get anybody that wanted to do it.
Just for like, is the lights and all that stuff, is that, and batting cages and all that? Is that all still a possibility or that's not gonna, because that'll all have to come from fundraising, right?
Correct. Yep. Yeah, we don't, that was the thing I said, if we ended up getting enough fundraising, I would never be short of funds to spend out there if we ended up winning that lottery that guy in California won. There's plenty of opportunity to spend that money out there. But as far as like batting cage, the other thing that we were trying to do is Chris and I were going and seeing if Shields would want to donate like the whole entire batting cage, if they could put their name on it and literally just put down the foundation for it and put it up, you know, they would donate the actual cage itself. So there might be other big donors out there that want to do stuff like that if they can get their name on it. But as far as the actual just roof or fence for the dugouts, I didn't find anybody local who wanted to do it. But again, we can continue to ask. You never know. Like you got a great point. It's the end of the year. Somebody may be told when they go see their accountant, like, hey, you got to come up with 10 more grand of donations. And the paper just happens to come out that day. And he says, yeah, I'll donate 10 grand towards something. Certainly won't.
Yeah.
No, they said people are willing to give if they don't know there's a need for it, then they ain't gonna give.
Absolutely. Yep. I gotta get another bike, you know.
Yeah, other than that, there's no progress on that right now. So still active, but not active. There's no building going on right now.
So when the Little League uses the softball field or the baseball fields up to the school?
Yep.
Is there a charge for that?
No.
Okay, I thought somebody told me that they. So we won't implement it.
The Booster Club does not donate back to the school to do the thing.
To use the-
They make a donation to the guys who go out and drag the field and prep the field before the games. So when the fields are done, but they pay the same people to do the city field. So like AJ Houston will get paid to actually go out and drag the field and lime it and put the stripes and lines on it and stuff.
You guys pay for that.
We pay, a fee for every time he has to go out and prep the field.
So when you go to different, just wondering, once we get this thing all dialed in and stuff.
Yep.
And when there's tournaments out there, do we
Then you charge other cities to come and,
But
Yeah,
do we as a city charge to use them or for a tournament or anything, or you just?
not that I'm aware of, all the times that I've talking to Miranda about trying to get a calendar so you could reserve the field and stuff. It's always been a public facility, first come, first serve. Can't really reserve it, but even though we do kind of for like Wednesday night women's softball, it's kind of like an unspoken rule that it's reserved. You can't really, but if a family were to show up there and they're all playing softball, technically or legally, I don't think that they can be kicked off. They can't literally reserve it and say, I've paid to have this field on Wednesday night.
Somebody was in the past, they resumed it.
We have a Google Calendar right now that I've set up that I initiated to help Miranda keep track of which teams are there and what's going on, kind of as a honor system to say, hey, Fred's going to use it on Tuesday night, Troy's going to use it on Wednesday night, so on and so forth. Yep.
So when the softball association had it, did they do the reserving and stuff and all the scheduling?
Because back then, before the school got involved with it, that was all that had it. They had a women's night and a men's night. And now there's quite a few more people that use it.
What other places do when you host like a big tournament, like Goodhue, when they host their big tournament, they hold it and stuff like that, and they literally, whatever the fee is for registering into that tournament, that fee all goes towards like the youth baseball or softball association to go back towards maintaining the field, striping the field, the umps, helping the kids raise money for the jerseys, so the parents, the community, all that stuff doesn't have to give as much.
So this tree replacement, that's nothing to do with the actual, or is it? That's a whole separate thing, isn't it?
No, that was part of the Ashboro event.
Part of that, that's for,
Yeah.
okay. That's ongoing then, right? Yep. Okay. Covered Bridge. Okay, well, this will be going to the Covered Bridge Park Survey discussion. If you've put any thought into that, or what we're gonna do there.
Did we send out any announcements that said this is the property line, or we're
No, we just, the way we left it was you guys were gonna go back and look things over and then we were gonna get a recommendation as to what you, how you wanted the staff to, and that's what my memo says too. That we're just looking for a direction that you want us to. And I had included some additional information with, and again, it's just to let you know that adverse possession does not apply to public land. Potentially it could, if the public property to be shown, there must be affirmative acts of the municipality representing intent to abandon it, which we haven't done out there. So as far as Minnesota law, it considers that adverse possession would not apply to any public land.
Adverse possession, we're only worried about if someone's mowing 4 or 5 feet over the property line and they consider that their property.
Shed and,
I think that obviously when you start sneaking like less than temporary objects over on top there, if you got a vehicle or you got, if a little bit of mulch or something splashes over the thing, I don't think that's quite a big deal. But if you start
yeah.
planting trees or taking a big 8x12 shed and you move it 4 feet onto city property, even though it's probably bordered up against a whole bunch of woods or something that's not going to be used, but regardless, it needs to stay on their property.
Or extend a fence.
And the
on
unfortunate
their
piece
property.
of all of this is that we have, it continues. We have fence go up this year again out there. So we don't,
Yeah.
This one right here, right? This one right here was added?
I believe so, yeah. And we don't, because they don't need a permit for a fence unless it's over 6 feet tall or whatever that ordinance is. And so we don't get into, really, it's up to the homeowners to know where their property lines are.
Well, that's why I was kind of dumbfounded that people don't survey their land before they put a fence in, but
Obviously, again, we know that there has been some of that land or homes that were purchased with like a shed already on that property.
Absolutely.
Before they bought it. But when you buy a place, you accept all the risks that are taken with it.
Right.
And again, probably should have your land surveyed once you buy it or before you buy it. I
Well,
don't
if
know.
you buy title, you're supposed to insure it, and they would pay the cost to move that then.
Mhm.
Right. I mean, some of those people too are still original or second homeowners. They've been out there for 30 plus years. So but I
Right.
can see Mike's point too, where somebody buys something and, they do or do not survey it. And the neighbors all say, yeah, it's always been right where the shed is right over there. That Phil put that in before, we were.
Well, I think
Building.
you can See what happened with that new fence that went up. They went off, they look like they kind
The
of.
next door neighbor has
The
a fence
neighbor's
just
fence,
like it, yeah.
But
Mhm.
that property line is different.
Right.
This runs like this and then it runs back, so.
Correct.
I mean, that's why we put a fence in, I don't know,
Right.
a year and a half ago, but we had it all surveyed because we were told when we moved in that our fence, or we have a little shed in the back. We were told that our fence was crossing into the other property line. And I was like, why would the property line go like this and then cut over into our shed and then back? So then when we had it surveyed, we indeed had it on our property line, but they were just trying to say, well, that shed's ours because it's on our property. I was like, no.
To play devil's
You are
advocate
not
though,
taking that.
if I were to put up a fence right now today, before going and spending money and doing, I would literally reach out to my neighbors and say, hey, Fred, my fence is gonna go from your fence to Kayla's, like you guys mind, if nobody minds. I'm probably not gonna get the city involved and say, hey, especially if I don't need to pull a permit or do anything. So I can see how it's gotten to this situation. But now that we're here and the city has paid money to have it surveyed, I still think the approach we took a month or 2 months ago is to at least notify them and say, hey,
Yeah.
we've surveyed these things, we know this has been many, many years and we're not expecting you to get it out by the first of the month.
Right.
But come springtime or come, next quarter, whenever we plan to do it as a city, we still want to put up the natural barrier that we talked about way back during the park expansion. Because
Yep.
I think we as a city other than just saying, hey, we want to set the record straight, should have a purpose for the improvement. And the reason behind the line was to improve the actual line so it's a nice barrier between the green space and the homeowner space.
Yeah.
The other thing is, this is something to go back. We, Fred and I, back in 2018, we went through this same thing, and they didn't do an exact survey. They had, I think it was WHKS at the time, just went out to see if they could find property pins. I don't think we ever saw anything of that because it wasn't an actual survey. This actually is kind of a nice survey because it points every detail out and how far. But back at the time, we were looking at, there was up there on the, by Quick Trip too, there was some concerns about what was going on up there, but I think we've got that one. Still have to find one property pin in there. I think that one's squared away. But we were at that time taking action on everything. And that was back in 2018 is when we were looking at that again too.
We think that got moved back, I mean, the,
Yep.
because the state had to put it back a lot, right? So
And they sodded it.
I think that will get taken care of.
I just think also, just to end this continual, take another inch, take another inch, take another inch, unless the city's gonna put up the border, unless they're gonna put up that, living fence line, you're gonna have the same thing 10 years from now, 20 years from now, something. So to go in and ask homeowners right now, Mike, you gotta move your fence. It's like, you gotta move your shed, you gotta move this. That's great. But 4 or 5 years from now, the new park board members are probably gonna have the same conversation because unless you put something else there, you'd even have some homeowners who would probably pull your pin if you went and put a pin there right now. You had talked about maybe concreting something in and putting it in the ground, so at least you have like a flush coffee can or something, so you know where it's at. The homeowner, I would want like a guideline to know where should I be, rather than the city just coming in and saying, you got to rip out your whole hedge of, arborvitaes or whatever you got growing there because the guy you bought it from put it on the wrong
I mean,
spot.
it's all there now.
Right.
The property pins are there. They've located them. I mean, and again, really, it's not our responsibility to, I mean, if you're putting in a fence, it's really your responsibility as a homeowner to know where your property lines are. I mean, that's even building a new house. The city we don't get involved in that. Even new houses, we don't get involved in that. The building inspectors do, but the city itself doesn't,
Well, it's right here, number 4. Like from this table to that wall, that's how far away he put his fence line into city property.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's not like it's, hey, you're a foot and a half over.
right.
You're
Right.
19 feet.
Well,
Yeah.
And I think that was the last time that, when we first talked about this, I brought this to Johnson and Schofield said that these, and I talked to the League of Minnesota Cities too. And everybody kind of had the same conclusion. You could maybe say if you're an inch off, but when you're feet off like that, they said, Johnson Schofield told me that was probably one of the worst surveys he's seen done as far as encroachments.
Yeah. Like, the guy mowing the grass, just tell him, hey, thank you for mowing it. You can keep on mowing it. It's not your property.
Well, and so I think you're right, Dirk. Anybody on this list, you have to go through and send them all
Yeah.
letters and telling them.
And it's
what-
got to all be the same too, otherwise people are going to feel singled out and stuff.
And I would just send them the letter with an understanding that there's a barrier being put up
Yeah.
and a discussion's being made as to what it's going to take to establish that barrier with your items
Mhm.
that aren't on your property. Because I'm guessing there's going to be a legal battle that's going to go.
Yeah.
Title companies will come out and, this is not going to be fixed in 6 months.
Correct. And I didn't think that we would have a hard, fast line that on April 1st, we're going to plant a shrub that's
Right.
400 yards long and it's going to go up. But at least give them the common courtesy of saying, hey, FYI, our, survey is complete. You're welcome to dispute it. But sometime in the near future, whether that's 6 months or 12 months or something, we would intend to maybe reestablish a green space at the cost of, but we would establish that, I would think.
Brings up another good point. That was one of the questions Johnson and Schofield asked me as they're going through. What did those property lines look like, up in this addition and before, and nothing really looks like it stood out to me that anything would have changed in that subdivision layout, at the time, that it was all pretty straightforward.
Like, there's a whole bunch of trees right here. That's where one of the baskets are.
Yeah.
And so, because I've had to play that, I've had to climb into those trees and get my frisbee.
Well, I feel bad for like the fourth edition way back there on Sugarloaf, Lane, because everything that borders up back there is just woods. I mean, it's just abandoned green space. I mean, it's the end of the Covered Bridge Park, it's like back to the woods. So if they sneak a foot each time they mow, and every year it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, before you know it, they're mowing the Covered Bridge Park,
Which, is fine as long as we let them know.
Yep.
If the city decides to put something up there, that's not yours.
Yep.
I mean, you can mow it as much as you want, thank you very much, but it's not yours.
Mhm.
Correct. Yep. That's why I think eventually, if you do want to just draw a line in the sand, you plant that hedge or whatever you're going to do there, so that someday,
Yeah.
3 years from now, they don't put up a gazebo and it's 3 feet over the line because they've been mowing it for 10 years.
Right.
That's back in that area is where some of the first discussions came in, and it was kind of a neighbor saying, hey, this is what's going on. So
I would just send this picture with a letter from the city and letting them see all this. And then they would have the opportunity to bring it to the city council.
Absolutely.
So
And they want to see a bigger, they want to see a bigger map.
they can come in and talk.
So what would you suggest putting for a barrier up there then?
Well, we had talked when we were doing the campground, it was like it was going to be a living type. So I don't know if it's going to be some sort of hedge or something, but it was going to be a green friendly, we weren't going to put up,
Yeah.
we weren't going to put up the old painted red posts that were back in the day.
Arborvitae's or something that grow up and make a visual barrier.
Solid all the way along this whole.
I don't know.
So from everybody's standpoint, we can send a letter out.
Send a letter just saying
Yeah.
FYI, our survey is complete. These are the results.
Sooner rather than later, move your stuff.
Yeah.
In a nicer way than that. I'm brash and like really right to the point. Like, I'll just tell you exactly what you need to do. So I do not need to write these letters.
Like, other than a motion, but, I mean, is that kind of what you were looking for?
Yep.
You don't need a motion on that then? For the letter?
I move to notify the residents that our survey is complete and that in the future, some of their items are going to have to move when we decide to do their thing. Or however we want to word it.
I would say let's let the county lawyer draft something up. I'm serious, that's.
Yep.
that's what we
Yeah,
do.
that's probably a good idea.
Or master or something?
City, we start with city attorney, I suppose.
Yeah, city attorney, sorry.
Yep, no, I think that's very. Okay, I got a motion.
I will second.
On the floor, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Skate park, I got some quotes on fixing up what's there, new plywood on the board or the skate park.
So what we have is what they call skate light natural. It's 1/4 inch thickness, $280 a sheet. And then fasteners for that, but underneath that 1/4 inch, there's green treated. That's, you can see from the outside. I won't know how much of that is rotten until we actually get into the proof. And that probably isn't cheap either.
So that thickness isn't part of the whole, because you gotta get to happen. Total foot, what's the,
I don't know what that is, if that's 1/2 inch or how they did that. That would be an interesting part. The skate light stuff does though. That just comes in flat sheets and then you start, this is just more of probably of a discussion, because
Act on this tonight.
just tonight, but because it's kind of a big ticket item, to be honest with you.
At least give us an idea of how much it's gonna cost us to replace all that stuff.
And then last time we did some good fundraising, you know, I know that Sarah had put out the aluminum and done a whole bunch of stuff, so maybe we can rekindle that same initiative we had last time around to get that going. Now that we know that we got a sizable amount, we might be able to.
I don't know, we can, yeah. Of course, he's washed his hands of this, you know.
Like somebody else in the
Right.
community, we might get another, you know, gentleman just like the disc golfer who's interested, but we might get someone who's interested in coming in, or again, back to the looking for donations thing. Maybe someone doesn't want to donate baseball, but they want to donate towards the.
I guess the
skate park.
question for me on this is, after I looked at it too, was that, I mean, it's in pretty tough shape. I don't know where a liability thing comes in at this point. If a guy, if, you know, that was probably worse shape than what I thought it was from last time Jim and I looked at it.
There's a lot of sharp edges of that face of that plywood peeling off, or
Right through the
Very,
middle of
very
it.
sharp.
So I don't know if there's got to be some determination, more talk. We don't, you know, we got a little time now coming into the winter, but we should, you know, that doesn't look like that's going to be a very fast project either. And then there was some discussion. I did do some searching for cement, portable cement things out there too. So, and I never heard back from them. That was just late today.
well, let's look and see what the cost of the concrete ones are. Because that gentleman that was this summer, is he kind of washed his hands of helping us?
Who was it? One of the guys that was running for school board.
Chapin?
Derek Chapin. Yeah, and he
Chapin,
kind of- Chapin.
Yeah,
He kind of told me he was just didn't have, he ran out of time to pursue it any
Maybe we
further.
could talk to him though to get some
Right.
direction on what, because I know when he was talking about that, he wanted to add something to the thing out there.
Adding to it, yeah.
What do we call it? The pipe, that's what it was. Pipe. But it went there, maybe just to reach out to him, say, yeah, we don't want, just pick his brain a
Well,
little
I
bit.
think it's worth looking into alternatives because I think the cement would last you a lot longer, obviously. I don't know when that thing was built, do you?
I don't,
It's been there
About
quite a
three-
while with them.
about 3 floods ago.
Right.
3 floods
We've
ago.
we've actually cabled it to hold it in place during flood, so it didn't float down the river.
Look at this and some other alternatives and maybe reach out to him and just see what he would suggest we do. Okay. New business, sale of disc golf baskets. We kind of talked about that already.
The motion on that,
Like a motion to,
sell them on the
Sell 'em
public
on the-
surplus.
okay. I'll motion to sell the disc golf baskets on a government, whatever.
I got one thing, caveat to that is we still have one sitting out there. Can we just pull it out? Okay.
Using that one then, right? That old one?
That one
It's just sitting there.
that one is just sitting there.
The motion.
Okay, so I motion to sell all the disc golf baskets, including the reserve one that is still out there on a government auction website.
I think the reserve price,
Oh.
1,500.
Oh, at the reserve of $1,800, that's there, yes.
I second.
I,
And then as a courtesy, I think we need to reach out to Michael and let him know that that transaction is null and void. The new way for him to purchase that would be on the auction.
on the auction,
And
yeah.
that will let him
the
have
only
the
way.
insider information that our reserve is at 18, which I'm assuming when you set that up on the auction, it's going to be public right away, like reserve has not been met.
Right.
So he'll know right where the reserve is going to be. So he can at least have the low reserve. Somebody wants to outbid him.
We talked to them lately or anything? And not on the fundraising or anything?
No, it has just been a ghost town, just nothing.
And what you might do is if he can't get the reserve, then, and he doesn't be a part of it, now he's backed out of it. Now you can sell it for the reserve of 1,000 or whatever you want to get out of it. Because the goal of reserve was for him to get it, and then he could turn around and sell them. And if he's not going to do that, then he's backed out of it. I think that this committee is free and clear of the responsibility.
Well, then part of the thing was he was looking for some reimbursement that he's got invested into the rental and the thing he had going on there. So we were going to dock the price or remove some of that price of that off there. So his out-of-pocket expense was going to be much less to acquire the baskets, which may deter him from wanting to bid on them. But now we have to worry about the balance or whatever.
We'll see what you find out from this guy, but maybe this winter we just gotta go and do the fundraising. So or something.
Yeah, I think once we get the baskets and the fundraisers and stuff like that, I think that's all gonna recoup really, really quick. I still think the potential is there
I
big
do
time.
too, yeah.
The other thing I'm looking forward to talking to this guy about too, and I don't know if we can get their involvement, but Concast, has got a plant out here in Zumbrota, but they got another one in Mingo too. They might be able to donate or help us with some of the actual T-pads kind of thing if we don't want to do just a standard rectangular thing. I know Michael and I were talking about doing one that looked more like the silhouette of the covered bridge where it started off at like 3 feet wide, went up to like 5 feet wide, but was maybe 8 or 9 feet long or whatever. They might be able to make us a cast for it and just pour them. Right, and then we just bring them in, set them in.
I like that idea. The local.
And then they get to put their little stamp right on them,
Yeah.
Concast, Zumbrota.
Right.
Design somewhere.
No, I was literally just like the big tarp behind you. I was literally just like any billboard banner thing that we've had. In fact, the nice silhouette is literally, I don't know, it's not a bike rack, but we got an iron fence kind of thing out here right by the pavilion thing. That's like the perfect silhouette. We could literally put a piece of plywood up behind that and sketch it out. That would be like, that's a pretty good. So you could blow it up just like that. And then you could brush it like Tim was talking about. So you got almost the siding on the covered bridge is your grip. I mean, you can make that pretty aggressive and still go with the theme of the covered bridge.
Okay, let's look at the fee schedules of the campsite.
So park and fuel fee schedule, that's on the bottom there. We got the campsite, shelter fee. The shelter fee is the one that we've talked about maybe should increase with I have the new sink countertop in there and the bathrooms up there now.
These are all current prices.
Currently, right? So we have to, that'll be December, second meeting in December, we have to approve any changes for or I should say the council has to approve their changes but we have to get them to council. I think Brian was going to skip the first meeting. We could get it to the second meeting, which will we still have park board meetings in December now? So it's just something to look at. Maybe we come back to that first meeting in December and let us know what you guys are thinking for.
A lot of times you guys will come with recommendations too.
So the big one that I think we were looking at basically was the shelter fee. I think we could bump that up a little bit, and that's pretty reasonable for renting. The pool, I would personally have trouble bumping up too many fees at the pool, just with the shape of the pool myself.
I would concur.
How about the annual camp? Is that the same, you think, or? That's for right now.
Man, we got a waiting list, right? Depending on how greedy we want to get.
We definitely get that new shower house. We'll
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's,
I mean, The shelter for sure, you got a brand new bathroom going in right there. You got a
Mhm.
sink in there. I could easily justify why that should go up.
Yep.
20%. Everything else in life is going up. That's a very, very cheap venue for $100.
Yep.
So, but we can make recommendations at our next meeting when we got more members and whatever, but
Yeah,
And $25.
no, I don't think so.
that's what I was thinking, yeah.
Running water, bathroom right there.
That's gonna be very nice, especially for a lot of the elderly people. There was a lot of people that would rent a porta pot from Jason or something to take up their handicap even, just to have it close for the elderly people, so. And then.
Yep.
Okay.
Jason, bring over a.
And then with the cement. All the way to the shelter. So.
Daily fee, because electrical water sites, daily fee, $250.
Campsites.
Campsites per day.
What's the primitive camping fee?
That's just for tents
Tent.
without any, no hookups. And then the primitive or the electric water sites, there's no sewer to them. It's just water and electricity. So they don't have any sewer. That's per night.
So the daily fee is for just, you want to sleep on the grass? I don't know what the daily fee of $2.
That's the pool. Daily fee,
Yeah, so
$250.
they jump around there. That starts at the pool then. She doesn't have the.
Oh, so like per day to go to the
If I just wanted to
pool.
go to the pool, okay.
$250.
I was really confused by that too. I was like,
Yep.
all right.
Yep.
Should be a line in between that. and
So you gotta,
Line
Pay
item,
$250.
camping versus pool.
You want to sleep on the
Blank.
grass? Let's do it.
Now you understood what I was talking
Yeah,
about.
exactly, exactly.
That's funny.
And then one other thing that doesn't, just to mention that Mary had talked to me about, she wants to come in and work with me on a letter to the paper about trees. I've reached out to the school about getting trees donated for the park when it comes time. We have to replace trees that we take out according to the grant 1-to-1. I've come up with on the GIS, it was 127 or 28 trees, ash trees, just in the park alone. So that was over $100,000 in removal. So the grants have went from 150,000, they're down to 30 or 40,000, and they're not sure. So that would, just thinking of it this way, if we got half the trees removed, that's no replacement. So that's why we were kind of reaching out to the school to see if we could get a program with them. And I've talked with the ag teacher. She was interested in it, was looking for more information. And I said, well, this is just in the early stages because I haven't even seen the grant come out yet. It's either going to be late this year or it's going to be early next year that grant application will be coming out again. And we'll have to work on it, but I've got all the GIS of those trees in. The ones that we treated, they're actually marked out there with little tags. If you haven't seen them, there are little tags in the trees, that first 10. And then some kind of a program, hopefully with the school. And that's what Mary kind of wanted. She wanted to write an article for the paper, just to the community in general, looking for some. And what I was looking at was, I think there were three, I talked about that 3 or 4 foot bare root trees. You can get them for $7, you know. So if you get an organization or certain classrooms that maybe want to, you know, maybe a 5th grade classroom wants to donate a tree or whatever. But we'd be looking at, I'd probably look at getting all the trees up front and I'm not sure how we do it yet. Might just get 50 at a time, whatever we take out that first and put them in right away. And then next year we get another grant and do the same thing. I'm not sure. But the trees are really showing out in the park, especially after the leaves come down, you can really see a lot of the scarring on them from the ash. But I think Mary's interested in writing an article.
I think that would be great.
Mhm.
And then if we could even get that electronically put on the website or something, or the Facebook, you can share that social media stuff. That really starts to spread
Yeah.
quicker than Ashmore.
It's funny, it isn't, I mean, the tree transplant or buying the trees is the easy part, it's the removal of them. You know, that costs so much money, you know, and then honestly, if we ended up with more trees donated,
Is there a certain, like, after you remove it, disposal process that has to, so it doesn't spread any further? I mean, we can't just take it down to
we can take
the city site and grind it up,
out.
burn it?
The stumps in the woods part, I don't think we're gonna do anything with them. The stumps that are out in the open, we're gonna grind them.
Whatever the grant is, that's something the trees will do right away. And then wait for another grant to come out. Okay. All right.
Entertaining a motion to adjourn?
Second.
We're entertaining.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.